Hey guys, it's Cass and AJ, and obviously, I'm Cass. So today I am talking about the do's and don'ts of a DIY wedding, because AJ and I ended up having a DIY, kind of like an elopement because of COVID. So the first things I'd recommend is to decide what aspects are most important to you and your soon-to-be husband or wife. So that would be like photographers, videographers, venue, food, things like that. Like, what are your absolutely have to have? There's no way we could cut costs on these things. We have to have the best of the best. Second would be to choose your budget. So ours was $5,000 and we spent, I think, like $4,500. So we were actually $500 under budget, but that was with things that we had prioritized and said there's no way we're cutting costs on these if possible. Then set a budget for your important pieces like wedding dress, your suit, venue, photographers, videographers, officiant, rings, things like that. Like, set yourself a budget and find things that fit your budget. Now keep in mind, if you splurge in one area, you're going to have to cut back in others. So if you splurge on a venue, you might have to cut back on your flowers or decorations or photographers and get something a little cheaper. Then you'll split up the remaining funds and allocate them to the other things such as food, decorations, party favors, invitations, things like that. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the rings. We are not sponsored in any way, shape, or form by this company. It is just who we went with personally for our rings. So for me and AJ, we had decided that we were going to get cheaper rings for the wedding. We ended up going with this website, this company called Modern Gents. They have a large variety of rings and they always have sales going on, so you can never go wrong. I ended up getting the Promise in gold. So this is my engagement ring, this is my wedding band. I actually have it. So this is my wedding band here. Super delicate, really pretty. I've had it for 6 months and I've had no issues with it. AJ got the Titan ring, also seen in our wedding photo. He got the Titan ring in gold and he's also had no issues with it. Like I said, it's been about 6 months now. And we have no complaints. They're some of the best rings I think we've ever owned. And we got them at really good prices. Like, I think mine was like maybe 60, 70 bucks and his was between 40 and 60. So instead of spending like $2 grand on a ring for each of us, it was like less than $200 for 2 wedding bands, and it was perfect. So that is an easy way that you could cut costs, and you could always just get pricier rings at a later date. If you're looking to cut costs and rings aren't the most important thing to you, or you don't plan on wearing it often anyways, go to Modern Gents. They have a huge selection, variety, multiple different colors if you're not into gold. They do have rose gold, silver, black, I think like a white gold almost as well, could be wrong. So I recommend them. Now for wedding dress, I went to Value Village and thrifted an old, I'd say like more like a prom dress. It was like a black gown. I ended up going with a black wedding dress, by the way, not your typical white. I did something a little more crazy. So I have sewn pretty much my whole life, and I was very confident in my work. I knew that no matter what, I would be happy with it, especially because like my mom had her dress handmade when she got married, and I don't fit into her dress. It's white. My neighbor also gave me her dress, and I fit into it, but I wasn't really a fan of it. It wasn't my style, it wasn't what I wanted, and the fabric was really itchy on the arms. There was a lot of things I didn't like about the dress, but I liked the beading on her dress and like the lace appliques and everything. She also gave me a golden tiara. Definitely wore that at my ceremony as well. Didn't wear it for the reception because it hurt my head, but I did wear it for the ceremony. So if you're someone like me who can sew and you're looking to cut costs, I bought all of my fabric. Again, not sponsored in any way. This was just what I did for the wedding. I bought all of my fabric from, I think it's called Fabric Direct. I'll have to find the website. And I spent less than $200 getting the fabric that I wanted for my dress, along with the thrifted dress from Value Village. That was the dress that I made, and it's literally just built on top of a black like old prom dress that I found at Value Village that I thrifted. And then I just took the fabric, like I said, the satin that I bought and the chiffon and the tulle and the glitter tulle, because that was my favorite. Got glitter everywhere, totally worth it. I put those on top of the dress that I thrifted to cut my costs. And then I took beading off of my mom's dress to incorporate her dress in mine, and something else from an old prom dress that I had that I never got to wear, and my neighbor's wedding dress. I took pieces like the boning out of hers and things that, you know, incorporated the wedding dresses I was gifted into my dress while making it my own style. 10 out of 10 recommend if you're confident in your work. Don't do that if you're not confident with your work, or you feel like it's going to cause too much stress to fit that into your timeline to make your own wedding dress, then don't. It was just something I personally did and I don't regret it. I loved it. If you have the money to spend on a wedding dress, like, splurge, it's your wedding day. In terms of photographer and videographer, this again was somewhat important to us, but not the end of the world if we couldn't find someone that fit in our budget, because our budget was so small, so we weren't expecting everything from them. So AJ's cousin offered to photograph our ceremony at no extra cost. He was just happy to be there. So we had him photograph our ceremony, and I have a whole photo album from the photos that he took for our ceremony. They turned out really good. So if you can get someone to take photos at your wedding for free, like a friend, family member, whatever, then do that, as long as you know, make sure you look at their work first. We also let our family take any photos and videos that they wanted. So you can actually see my dad in some photos holding his phone awkwardly in front of him, trying to record without making it obvious that his phone, he didn't want it like right in his face, he wanted to be in the moment. So we do have cute things like that. We set up my camera that I'm using right now on a tripod outside on the patio to record our entire ceremony instead of having a videographer. But I did reach out to a really good friend of mine because I know she takes photos. Sam Karud Photography, check her out on Instagram. I reached out to her and asked her if she would be willing to photograph our wedding and what her prices were, and she actually recommended that we reach out to her friend, Newt's Photography. So we did, and we sat down with both of them at a Timmy's. We ended up hiring Newt's Photography, and she brought a second photographer, which was Sam Karud Photography, one of my friends. Brought her on as a second photographer. We hired them for 2 hours. So after the ceremony, and did basically like a photo shoot for 2 hours with our wedding party and family. So we ended up spending less than $500 for a 2-hour session with them. And again, I have an entire photo album of photos from that 2-hour session, and I love it because every single photo in there, she couldn't have done better. Like, they're perfect. So if you don't really care about getting photos the entire day and you just want to live in the moment and whatever, then I would recommend having that 2-hour session instead of paying $3 to $5 grand to have them photograph the whole day. It is an easy way to cut costs, and we still got really good photos out of it. Venue. We switched venues like a month before the wedding and ended up doing it in our backyard, which we were a little worried about because our neighborhood isn't exactly the greatest, but all in all, like, I don't regret it. Our backyard looked way better than we ever expected it to, so I highly recommend having a backyard wedding if that's something you're into, and don't think that your backyard is not worthy enough, because we definitely thought ours wasn't. There was many reasons not to have the wedding here, and we're really happy that we ended up having it here. Like, it gave so much more meaning to the house and the yard and the neighborhood. Like, there's just so much more behind it, and it was way prettier than we ever expected it to be. But don't enter the day unprepared for Mother Nature. So it did rain on our wedding day, but it rained in the morning. So we didn't have a tent or anything. We didn't plan for a tent because it was an extra cost, and we were gonna build a tent, and then we're like, you know what, we think we'll be fine. And I knew it was supposed to rain in the morning, and I was like, you know what, it's gonna stop raining like at least 2-3 hours before the wedding. That's what the Weather Network said, and I trusted it. I was a fool and I trusted it. An hour before the wedding, it stops raining. We had an hour to set up the entire backyard and get ourselves ready before the officiant showed up to marry us. So don't walk into it like even slightly unprepared. Have a backup, like a tent or something. Have something in place in case something happens, because I wish I would have, so I didn't have that 1 hour of complete stress and utter chaos before the wedding. Now, in terms of decorations, I have a lot of do's. I was really happy with everything that we did in terms of DIY decorations. So we made rose petal aisle runners out of burlap and fake rose petals from Dollar Tree. All of this, like pretty much everything in terms of decoration, was from Dollar Tree, and I put it all together. Lifted up the part of the petal that was not glued, stuck the tent peg through the burlap into the ground, and the rose petal covered it. I swear nobody even noticed that we were using bright yellow tent pegs. Another thing, we made our archway out of birch branches, tulle, and fake sunflowers, and it looked really, really nice. So definitely recommend something like that if you want something simple for your background, like a little archway, whatever, behind you guys and the officiant. 100% recommend. We also wanted we were kind of going for like a boho look when we did the birch branches. We also wanted one of those rugs. Insert picture here. One of those rugs, and they're expensive. So my mom actually has this old blanket that we ended up using. It was kind of similar to the rugs, but not at the same time. So it was blue. It was kind of out of our color scheme, but it didn't really matter. We just wanted the general look. It pulled together the look the way we wanted, as if we were using the rug without having to fork out the money for a rug. An angel table is a must. Everyone loved it. We loved it. It made us feel a little better about it. So an angel table, in case you didn't know, is for loved ones that passed away that weren't able to be at your wedding. So we had, I think, like 5 or 6 photos on that table, and we put some wedding flowers there, some candles, and then a mirror. And I took like oil-based Sharpies, like pen Sharpies, whatever you want to call them, and wrote on the mirror, we know you'd be here today if heaven wasn't so far away. That way when you looked at the angel table, you saw yourself in the mirror, and it's like you were standing next to them still. So highly recommend it if you do have loved ones that passed away that you planned on having at your wedding that didn't get to be there. That's like a really nice touch. Make light posts for a dance floor. Cannot stress this enough. If you were having a backyard wedding, we went and got metal pails, buckets, whatever, from Princess Auto, and some quick concrete that you can make at home, and these huge like 8-foot posts, and these little screws that you like, it screws in, and then it's got a hook at the end. We drilled a hole and screwed the hooks in, and then pour the concrete in the pails, put the poles in the pails, let them dry overnight. We ordered lights off Amazon. It was the perfect dance floor. It illuminated the entire backyard where we were sitting and dancing, and it was gorgeous. Make a little sign-in area for the guest book with a sign with your last, like your new married name on it. So my maid of honor, I don't have it with me. My maid of honor actually made us a wooden heart sign, and we got to keep it after, so we have it hanging up in our room. Also, use bubbles for send-off. I was gonna do like eco-friendly confetti. I was gonna use leaves and punch holes in them. Shortly realized afterwards that that took a lot of time and hurt my hand a lot. So went to Dollar Tree, and they have little packs of 6 wedding bubbles. Got those, put them out on the guest book signing table, and I put a note that said, you know, take one. And as we were getting married, like our guests were sitting there blowing bubbles, and the bubbles were going in the sun, and it was really pretty. It was a lot of fun. I recommend bubbles for send-off. Unless you're doing a late night wedding, then do sparklers. Now my don'ts in terms of decoration, 1, party favors, because we made them and didn't even remember that we had them. We forgot that we even made them, so not worth it. And don't bother ordering nice napkins if you're having a backyard wedding, because let me tell you, nobody used them. The other thing is we had a snack table. Every wedding I've gone to has a snack table for people to snack on. And I was like, oh yeah, who wouldn't like those, right? I see them at every wedding. My mom made homemade pretzels. That's what AJ wanted, and I wanted popcorn. Everyone said they wanted pretzels. I swear nobody took them home. These things. They were on the pretzel bags and the popcorn bags. So it said, we tied the knot, all because he popped the question. I thought it was the cutest little thing. Waste of money, waste of time. Don't do it. I do have a bunch of do's and don'ts that I personally didn't think fit into like a specific category. So they're just kind of like all over the place. So some do's that I have was blankets. They were a huge hit. We had a bucket with blankets and this cute little sign that said to have and to hold in case you get cold, and there was 1 blanket for everybody. And I told everyone at the wedding, I was like, hey, there's blankets there, take them home. If you don't use them, take them home. It's for you to take, for you to keep. It's all yours. It was a huge hit at the reception later when it got kind of cold and we were outside dancing. People did get cold, and I saw them going to the bin, unwrapping a blanket and wrapping it around them. They tied it like a cape and danced at the wedding with a cape on. Would definitely recommend that if you're having like a fall wedding or a spring one where it gets kind of cold at night. Definitely recommend having blankets to have and to hold in case you get cold. It was a huge hit. Everybody took them. Have a backup venue and photo location, because like I said, a month before the wedding we had to find another venue, and it was very stressful. And the photo location, we had picked a photo location, we were super happy with it, and literally midnight, like the night before the wedding, my maid of honor's here, we're playing games with her and AJ and my best man and my brother. We're all playing games, we're talking, and she's like, oh my god, I forgot to tell you, someone came into work today and told me that there's a festival going on where you're supposed to be getting your photos done tomorrow. And I was like, you're joking? And she's like, no. And last I knew, like, they have the whole area decked out. So it's not even like you can find one spot in that park to get photos without their stuff being there. And I was like, okay, we need to go check it out. So we went for a drive at midnight, the night before our wedding, to go check out our photo location. And sure enough, there were spider webs everywhere. There was signs. Like, it was just, I was like, yeah, there's no way we can have photos here. So I had to message our photographers and pick another location at midnight the night before our wedding. They were super considerate, and they're like, this really isn't a problem, like, don't worry about it, it's totally fine. I was like, we can pay extra, like, it's fine, it just, you know, this was a spur of the moment, I'm so sorry. And she's like, no, it's fine, like, don't worry about it, it's nothing. We'll meet you at this spot tomorrow then, because that's where you would like instead, at this time, and we'll go ahead with how we plan. Like, news photography worked with everything. Every obstacle we faced, she was on top of it. Super considerate, highly recommend her if you're in the area. Check out news photography, she is amazing. One thing AJ said he regrets. Him and the boys were kind of in a panic. He went in the bathroom to get ready because he was panicking, and my brother came upstairs to get ready, and his best man was getting ready in the trailer. They all kind of like split up and separated to get ready, and he says, like, don't do that. If you're in a state of panic or you're freaking out, like, he regrets not getting ready with this party. Another big do for me, I did wake up before everybody else, and I texted AJ, I was like, hey, are you up? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, hey, do you want to come inside? We left all the lights off in the house. He snuck inside, and we just sat there for an hour listening to the rain, just talking and going like, it's here, today's the day, like, how do you feel? And just connecting with each other. We also took that time to exchange gifts privately instead of opening them separately with our wedding parties. We just handed them to each other in the morning. So definitely recommend spending that 1 hour with your spouse in the morning, because it was probably the most peaceful part about our wedding, and it was something I wouldn't have changed for anything. Even if it's not in the morning, set 1 hour aside for just you and your soon-to-be or your newlywed. If you're eloping like we did and you know that people are going to get upset, tell them after. Elope first, then announce. Have a form of mint on you if you feel nauseous. Also, ginger grabble worked wonders. We did a pizza and salad buffet style wedding. So I had a table and I ordered a giant pizza, and I shoved the pizza on it, opened it, and said, here's some plates and forks, go nuts. And I was like, everyone gets like 5 slices each or whatever. And there was a huge bowl of Greek salad on the side with dressing in it, and I was like, go nuts. 10 out of 10 recommend. We ran out of pizza within 20 minutes. Everyone grabbed pizza. Like, they finished their plates and their salad, and they were like, that was really good. Like, it was a huge hit. Make sure you have a really fire playlist, like good playlist, lots of music, but make sure you throw line dances in there, because I'm telling you, those photos that we got, that like just people at the wedding took with their cell phones, the best photos we have of everyone dancing was the line dances. The look on everyone's faces, the laughter, it's a memory I'm never gonna forget. Make sure you have line dances in your wedding and convince at least your wedding party to do it with you. For the boys, AJ loves food, and you know, he wore a different suit than his party. His party wore gray, he wore burgundy. He wanted a burgundy suit, and he had a black shirt and a flower tie and a backwards hat. And his wedding party had gray suits with a black shirt and a red tie and backwards hats. So they were allowed to wear whatever shoes they wanted. We didn't care. We wanted our wedding party to be comfortable. So I even told my maid of honor, I was like, I just want you to wear a burgundy dress. I don't care what the style looks like. I don't care how you do your hair. I don't care about your jewelry, your makeup. Do whatever you want. I don't care. I just want you to be comfortable. Just make sure your dress is burgundy. So she wore a burgundy dress with matching burgundy Converse. And our wedding party wore matching suits, but they got to choose their hats and their shoes. The only thing we requested was the color of their suits and a hat on backwards. So AJ's one contribution to that was he wanted them to have matching socks. And we got a photo done during our 2 hours of their matching socks. And if you can tell, they're all food. All of their socks are food. Literally all food. So that was a cool touch. Made for a really good photo, obviously. We love it. So definitely recommend something like that. It's a nice little touch for your for the groom and his wedding party to have that little extra pizzazz. For the reception, AJ and I had made these matching sweaters. I split them down the middle. It was black and then burgundy, and then the other one was burgundy and then black. It's got like a little patch here that I ironed on of a skull middle finger. Down one arm it says promise. It has a semicolon on the wrist of the other arm, and on the back it says Mr. and Mrs. Like, his says Mr., mine says Mrs. For the reception, he kept on his suit pants because he thought they were really comfortable and didn't really want to change out of them, and threw on his sweater that said Mr. I went in the house and put on sweatpants, the new shoes that he had bought me for my wedding gift with this like embroidered thing in the back. put those on and my matching sweater that said Mrs. So we wore matching sweaters for the reception, and we were in comfy clothes and just relaxing, having a good time, dancing, things like that. So definitely recommend getting matching sweaters with your partner. Instead of having a second dress for your reception, do matching sweaters that say Mr. and Mrs. because they also made for really good photos. Everyone thought they were a hit. They were like laughing at it. They're like, oh, that's awesome, and taking pictures and things like that. Another thing we did was our vows. We swapped books. I read his and he read mine, and when we were done we swapped books back and just, you know, looked back at the official and we're like, okay, we're ready. It was a really intimate moment. It was private, you know, we have a lot of anxiety, so we didn't want to talk out loud, so it made it a little easier nerve-wise for us to handle, and it was more intimate. It had so much more meaning behind it. The vows were private. We did leave the books out afterwards on the table in the sitting area, so if anyone wanted to read them, they had the option to pick up the book and read it themselves. We just didn't really feel like saying it out loud. It was, you know, we wanted that little intimate moment together of just quiet while we read our promises to each other, and honestly a little too anxious to sit there and read it even though there was only 10 people in attendance. So we just didn't say them out loud, and I don't regret it. Now, to finish off the video, we're gonna end it with don'ts. A list of don'ts that don't fit into any categories, but I recommend not doing if you're doing a DIY wedding or just wedding in general, because these things kind of sucked. So I know I mentioned before party favors. Nobody used them. We didn't give them out. We completely forgot that they even existed. We found them days later. Don't cater to what others want. It is your day. I know I've said that a million times, but do not cater to what your guests want. Yes, your guests should be happy, but they should be happy that they're there to witness such a happy moment in your life. They shouldn't care about what the seating looks like. They shouldn't care about what kind of food they have to eat. If they don't like it, they can go get McDonald's. Go buy yourself something else. It's about what you want. So if you want a pizza buffet, have that pizza buffet. You want to have a potluck? Have a potluck. You want to have catered food? Have catered food. You want to have a wedding in a tent? Do it. You don't want to have a wedding in a tent? Don't do it. It's your day. Do what you want, not what other people want. Don't be afraid to say no if you don't like or want something or someone at your wedding. Don't rush into things and avoid your original plans, like getting ready with your party or having that brunch moment together, things like that. Like, if you have it in the schedule, make sure you do it, because you obviously plan that schedule for a reason. Try and stick to it. You're probably going to regret not doing some things. It happens. Don't be afraid to have a non-traditional wedding. Our wedding was extremely non-traditional. We had a pizza buffet. We recorded our own wedding. I had a black wedding dress. He wore a hat for the wedding. There was a lot of things that were non-traditional about our wedding, but we wouldn't change a single thing. There were people like, and I'm like, no. I had white beading. I had a white pearl bracelet from my mom. I had white pearls in my hair. I had white incorporated, but my wedding dress was black. And I wore cowgirl boots for my wedding, because I love my cowgirl boots, and they were also black. I was getting married in a backyard. I'm not going to wear heels and sink into the grass or twist an ankle, because I can not wear heels gracefully. So don't be afraid to have a non-traditional wedding if that's something you want. Don't let people discourage you and be like, oh my god, you're not going to do this? That's weird. Or they tell you they don't like it. Who cares? Again, not their wedding. It's yours. Do what you want. As long as you're happy, that's all that matters. That is my last tip for a DIY wedding. If you're gonna do it yourself, especially in elopement style, this is coming from two people who did have an elopement DIY wedding, and we don't regret a single bit of it, except for those odd things like party favors and not getting ready with the party. There's obviously going to be do's and don'ts for every wedding. I'm in no way a professional. I don't plan weddings for a living. I'm not a wedding photographer. I have nothing to do with weddings. This was just what we did for our wedding. So please take this advice lightly, and if it doesn't suit your needs, then obviously don't listen to it and do what you want, because like I've said a million times, it is your day, nobody else's. What makes you happy is the only thing that matters. So have your dream wedding, be non-traditional, don't be afraid, put your foot down. You're gonna love it. So okay, so that's it for today's video. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, click the little bell so you're notified every time that we post, and I will see you next Wednesday.